the founding of our country has its roots culturally in Christianity. So even if we like it or we don't like it, we have been influenced by it. So let's find a Jesus that really speaks to us. One of the things that I valued so much as I was going through some of Adyashanti's work is a point he makes about, it almost doesn't matter whether you believe everything about Jesus that is presented in the Bible or whether you don't believe any of it literally. The value, there is tremendous value, regardless of where you are in that spectrum, there is tremendous personal and spiritual value to be had if you are willing to begin to look at what he refers to as a Jesus story through the mythical lens. The word myth has a bit of a bad rap. We tend to think of myth as a lie, but that's not really what myth is. Myth is a carrier, a container for a message and a story that's too difficult to put into linear black and white language. And so some of the most important kinds of stories, some of the most important deep questions that humanity has always asked of itself, whether it's why are we here? Why is there suffering? Where did we come from? Where are we going after we leave this body? Would you not agree? Those are pretty deep kinds of questions. Most of the best attempt to answer those kinds of questions are contained in story. They're contained in myth. And when we begin to see ourselves in the myth, when we begin to understand how to look at the myth, then the richness of the story becomes ours to have and to live by. One of the statements that Robin Myers makes in his book, Saving Jesus, he asks the question, is Jesus the answer? You see all those bumper stickers, right? Jesus is the way, Jesus is the answer. But he said, no, Jesus is the assignment. Take that in for a moment. Jesus is the assignment. Do you remember getting assignments in school? Very different than getting an answer, right? When you ask a question and you get an answer, how does that kind of feel inside you? I think there's a certain feeling of completeness, even if you don't like the answer. If I ask you a question and you give me an answer, there's a certain completeness, a certain doneness, if you will, with it. Okay, got my answer, now I move on, right? Assignment, not so much so. Jesus is the assignment, puts a huge amount of responsibility where? Here, on us. On us. It requires doing. It requires being. It requires becoming. It is not in the least bit passive. It is entirely active. One of the very important themes in practically all of these kinds of books I've mentioned is that it is not about worshiping a man. It's about following a teacher. I love Robin Myers' statement, Jesus is not the answer, Jesus is the assignment. Last Sunday on Easter, I said to you, can I challenge you to take one of his teachings and make it your own to really deeply live by? I hope you're doing that. I hope you're doing that. He never said that his teachings were easy, but he always said, what I do, you can do as well. And if we were to actually take that seriously, there's no doubt in my mind that within the practice of his teaching is everything we need to totally heal the world and fix every single problem we have as a human family.
Thanks for listening. Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. Inclusivity. It's worth the drive. Subscribe to our podcasts and download our free app for instant access to a wealth of spiritual teachings, services, and events.